What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is The Mandalorian, Season 3, Episode 7, The Spies. So I'm not gonna lie, this episode, it's not bad, it's pretty good. But the problem is that it does not feel cohesive with the rest of this season. Like, yes, they've been talking about getting back to Mandalorian and all this stuff, but we have been just sort of trudging along, just focusing on these all other random things. You know, you got trying to defend Navarro, you got everybody trying to get the Mandalorians back together, and now all of a sudden it's, oh, but now the whole story has been Moff Gideon this whole time, and he's building up this thing on Mandalorian, they gotta stop him. And yes, there were hints to it. You know, we had the whole one episode with Dr. Pershing that obviously was showing that Moff Gideon was still pulling strings in the background, but that's not enough. You know, we've got to see more hints given throughout the season. We got to see more references made. He can't just disappear all season and then pop up for the final 2 episodes and suddenly, oh, guys, Moff Gideon's back. Like, isn't that what they did in season 2, where he wasn't involved hardly at all until the final 2 episodes? I feel like I remember complaining about that before, and I'm pretty sure it was a Star Wars thing. So I don't know if it was Moff Gideon or if it was another villain that they faced, but yeah, it's an exciting, well, I mean, I guess finale is the next episode, but start to the finale. Like, this is an exciting start, but it's dragged down by the fact that we had to get through a lot of just meh to get here. And it doesn't feel connected. It doesn't feel like this season as a whole has been connected, which ultimately does drag down these final 2 episodes as well. So yeah, I was okay with it. If I wanted to get into more individual, like, detailed stuff, first of all, they did bring up Thrawn at the beginning of this episode, and I do know he returns in Ahsoka, so I'm guessing this is building up toward that. I'm excited to see that, because Thrawn was probably one of my favorite Star Wars villains in Rebels, so I'm excited to see what they do with him in live action. Hopefully they give him the same dignity and respect that Rebels did, which I know is crazy to think about, the animated kids show giving more respect to a villain than the adult live action show, but I've seen it done before. So yeah, I'm excited to see more of that. And obviously there's this whole, it does feel like this is setting up for, this is about to be the First Order. You know, we even have a Hux, who I did look it up just to see. I'm like, this is not the same guy. It's apparently General Hux's dad. So, but he talks about, what was it? There was a project, it was something to do with like reanimating or something like that, which I'm guessing again is the whole cloning program where they're going to clone Palpatine. And I don't know. I don't understand how it's going to work, but I'm assuming that's what they're talking about, is like bringing him back from the dead to basically rule over the First Order from the shadows type of thing. But yeah, I mean, that whole opening scene was okay, cool. We're seeing a bit more of what's going on behind the scenes. But again, we've not seen or heard mention of any of this really until about right now. Again, few clues dropped in there, but for the most part, it's been very much this isn't really that important. And now all of a sudden, it's been the whole season building up to this. Doesn't really feel like it. I will also say the fact that, you know, that one scene whenever, what's his name, the one pilot that helped out Mando that works for the New Republic, he found the one ship that was covered with Beskar. I was kind of hoping that maybe we were going to find out there was a traitor in their midst or something, because they even talked about there were moles planted throughout the galaxy that were giving them information, which we know what's her name, Kane, I think is her last name, that betrayed Pershing. We know she's been implanted obviously within the New Republic. So I was kind of wondering if maybe we're going to find out that there was a Mandalorian that had been put on the inside to be giving them information. But as it turns out, no, it's just they have been building Beskar armor troopers. So that's why there was Beskar in there, which to me is just less interesting. You know, I know it means obviously we can trust all the Mandalorians now, but it still feels like you were building up some sort of mystery here. And who knows, maybe, you know, the people that were on Mandalore, the ones that were driving in the little cruiser thing, or I don't even know what that was. It was like almost like a wooden boat with thrusters. But who knows, maybe they could possibly be traitors. I mean, the fact that they've been on Mandalore this entire time and yet somehow didn't know about the Empire and what they were doing does seem a little suspicious. Like the fact that the Empire didn't even bother to kill them in all this time I feel like that's a little weird if they don't touch on that. It's kind of a plot hole for me, but maybe it's supposed to be something that once we realize this whole big thing that the Empire has built, maybe that's when they'll pull out, oh, by the way, those people that have been on Mandalore this whole time, yeah, no, we know that they should know about this. We haven't just been ignoring that. But as far as that whole facility and of course the final scenes, it's fine. Yeah, I like the idea that they're using Beskar to build better suits for the troopers. I don't think this really comes into play that much. The guys at the end look like the soldiers that defended Snoke in The Last Jedi. So I guess you could say that maybe those guys are wearing Beskar armor and this is how they get it. But we don't see, the First Order troops are not wearing Beskar armor, which means that they're going to win Mandalore and get all of it back and probably limit the Beskar armor that they've built to just a few, which will probably become, I don't even remember what those guys are called. But yeah, it's pretty standard, just the kind of build up to the climax. You have Din being captured by Moff Gideon. You have everybody kind of in danger. You have one character sacrificing themselves. It was fine. I do feel like that could have gone a little bit more smoothly because you have this whole, obviously everybody's butting heads because the Mandalorian tribes don't really like each other, don't really trust each other. So you have that moment on the ship whenever, all right, it is Paz Vizsla. Got it now. But you have that moment where he and Axe go head to head on the ship and have their little battle, which then Grogu steps in to stop, which it makes them both look so unlikable. I don't know if that's the intent, but God, they're so childish in all of it, And then at the end, you have him sacrifice himself, which on top of that, we know he has a kid that is now going to be fatherless at the end of all of it. But I don't know. It feels kind of like, well, okay, you want us to care about this guy after he acted like a child not even 15 minutes ago? He and this guy got into an argument, into a full-blooded fight because they were playing a game. And you want me to sit here and go, oh no, he's dying? Like, you have to have him be a little bit more likable if you want me to care about this death. But they did not. And I was just sitting there like, oh, okay, I guess he's about to die then, because he's sacrificing himself for everybody. Guess he's going out on a high note at least, but I don't really care that much. So it feels like there are good ideas in this episode. There are good concepts. And again, I think if the season built up to these episodes more, they probably would be even better. But as it is, they are good episodes that don't really save this season. Or at least, I mean, this one was. Who knows? The finale may completely drop the ball. It feels like they're building up to something exciting, though. But it's hard to say. I will say, based on IMDb ratings, the finale did get a decent ratings, as did this one. So that's why I am saying I'm hoping that it's ending on a good note. But who knows? Maybe I'll disagree with the ratings and be very disappointed by the finale. But I think that's about it for this episode. Grogu in the IG-11 suit is also just, I guess, mentioning that it's fine. It's kind of funny. I like the moment where he's saying no as Din is trying to get him out of the suit. A little bit of comedic stuff there. But outside of that, I mean, it's still the same issue I had in the last episode, which is it is very, very focused on Bo-Katan right now. I mean, she seems to be the Mandalorian. This show is about her. And I just don't get that. Again, I don't understand why you would have this character that has been your main character for 2 seasons now, and then all of a sudden you have another character from a different show come in and just upseats him, which, to be fair, they did that with Boba Fett. They had Din come in and be the main character for 2 episodes of Boba Fett, so it's not like they've not done this before. It's still just frustrating, though, because I have enjoyed the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian. I wanted to see more about him and how he was going to grow as a character, and instead it feels like they've grown Bo-Katan as a character, and he's just still kind of the same. In some ways, he regressed, because he went right back to his same old, I need to go back to the way, and the cult and all of that. So, yeah, a little disappointing, but that being said, we're on to the finale. I'll see you guys there in just a minute. And now, episode 8, The Return. It's a decent finale. It's okay. It had its good moments. It had its frustrating moments. It was fine. But again, I feel like because this season was all over the place, didn't really feel connected, kind of felt like it was mishandled in a way with its writing. It does not feel like the epic conclusion to Moff Gideon's story that I really wanted. So, first of all, I guess just focusing on the whole final battle and stuff, most of it was fine. You know, the CGI, whenever they were flying in and, you know, all of the Beskar troopers were flying up at them, and we just cut between, you know, you got Bo-Katan slashing with the Darksaber, you got the armor going with her hammers, and then I think they were cutting to Koska, I think is her name. It was the other one that was helping out with Bo-Katan. They kept cutting between the three of them, and the CGI in the scene was just kind of bad. Basically, they were very clear, and then everything else around them looked really just muddy, and you couldn't really get a sense of what was going on. They would just cut to them, they would do a slash, cut to another one, they would do a punch or a kick, cut to another one, they would shoot. And it's kind of like, okay, yeah, we get it. They're flying down, they're flying up, and then fighting is happening. It didn't feel like it was very well mapped out. There were parts of the fight that got better, but definitely that first start was not great. Also, a couple of issues I have. First of all, they did not address at all the Mandalorians that were still on the planet, how they didn't know about what the Empire was doing. I mean, Mandalore was taken out, I don't even know, like a long time ago. This was not like, oh, it just happened a little while ago, and then the Empire came in and did all this stuff, and they just didn't have time to find. No, these guys, they knew where the Great Forge was. They've been on the planet ever since it was destroyed. They should have seen the Empire coming in and doing what they were doing, and yet no mention of it. And we have no answers as to why they didn't mention it. So either they were just the most unobservant people ever, or they were in on it. And I feel like it's going to be the first one, because we didn't see them turn on the rest of the Mandalorians. But I'm not going to buy the fact that, oh yeah, they were just on the planet and somehow they missed the Empire was on it. I know the planet's huge, but if they are staying around where the Great Forge is, that means they would have seen ships flying in and out of the Great Forge, because that's where the base was. And yet they didn't know anything about this, so it's a huge plot hole. It's not going to be filled, apparently. Also, you've got what's his name? Axe gets up to the ship, tells everybody to go reinforce down below. So they take the ships, the drop ships or whatever, fly down into the clouds, and then the bombers, the TIE bombers and stuff, fly up from almost basically the same angle. I know you're trying to do it as like a visual scene, you know, because there is something kind of cool about ships going in and you hold, and then ships come out. It's a cool looking scene. Logistically makes no sense. They literally flew right past each other. And you're telling me that nobody saw anybody on their way up or down? Not likely. I know the surface or whatever is supposed to block, which, did we confirm, is that actually how the planet is now? It blocks signals, or was that the Empire's doing? And since they were setting up the base there, they were the ones causing all of the atmospheric interference. There we go. I lost the word for a second. I don't know if we ever got confirmation about that. It seemed like the skies cleared up after they blew up the base, though, so I would think that maybe it was the Empire doing it, but I don't know for sure. But outside of that, the battle with Moff Gideon, apparently he was cloning himself, and the reason he wanted Grogu in the first season was because he wanted to inject Force DNA, the midichlorians, because we know that's a thing now in Star Wars. He wanted one of his clones to have the ability to use the Force, and I guess he wasn't capable of doing it, which I guess that's something that might play into how Snoke was created later on down the line. I don't know. It feels very random. It feels like they needed a reason for Moff Gideon to do all of this, and they were like, oh, what if he was cloning himself and he wanted himself to have the Force? Okay. We've not seen any sort of hint that he is jealous of Force users, as far as I know. Maybe there were some hints in the first two seasons that I don't remember now. But yeah, this is just sort of out of nowhere. Like, since I'm about to die after this fight scene here, let me tell you my grand plan about why I did all of this. Cool. He's monologuing. But yeah, the fight was just bland. First it's him and Din, and he's clearly got the upper hand, and then he sends in his guards, even though he didn't need any help whatsoever. The guards go after Grogu, and then he still has the upper hand on Din, and then in comes Bo-Katan, and now it's him versus Bo-Katan, which I thought she was going to get the final strike. I'm really glad she didn't, because if she did, that would cement that they were fully on board with, no, this is her story now. But it was, she shows up to help save Din so he can go save Grogu, and then once he saves Grogu, actually, they kind of save each other, because, yeah, your main character can't even take on 3 of those guards without a little bit of help. I know those guards are not, obviously, they're not, like, awful. They're clearly very good at fighting, and they have good weapons and good armor, but yeah, it's still just 3 guards, and he wasn't able to hold his own hardly at all. Grogu had to keep helping him and tossing the guys side to side. But then after that, Bo-Katan is about to be taken down, and then that's when Din steps in. So it was a little bit of they're both helping each other out, and then ultimately it's the ship blowing up the base that takes out Moff Gideon. So I'm glad that Bo-Katan didn't get the final blow. And I'm also glad that it was Din, Bo-Katan, and Grogu all working together that really kept him from winning in the end. Because I think that's better than just Bo-Katan flies in, saves Din, and then takes him out because it's her story, which is really what they seem to be setting up for there. But we see kind of a bit of an epilogue. The epilogue went on a bit too long for me. Like when they cut to the final scene where it was just Din and Grogu at the little cabin on Navarro, my mindset was, man, more endings than Return of the King, because they just kept cutting. You had Din going off, you had Mandalore finally revitalized, all of them there, and you've got him going to see whatever the guy's name is at the one bar and getting the part for the IG-11 unit, and then going back to Navarro, and now there's a new IG-11 to defend the streets, and then it was just all over the place. It felt like they just wanted to wrap up all these stories quickly, and I think in this moment is when some of the writers might have realized, crap, guys, we got a lot of stories that we were telling this season. We probably need to do something about that. But yeah, I mean, first of all, the whole story with the Beskar found in the ship, obviously we know it's because they were creating Beskar armor troopers at this place, but nothing really came of the fact that the New Republic guy found out about it. Like, I thought that was going to be possibly a point of contention where he thinks the Mandalorians did this, maybe the ones that were set out as mercenaries did something about this, but that never even came into purview. It was just a thing. And we were just sitting there in the audience going, oh no, Beskar, does that mean the Mandalorians are turning on people? And then we get to Mandalore and we find out what they're doing. It's like, well, okay, so why'd even show that scene then? Was it just a hint toward the fact that they were building Beskar armor for stormtrooper units? Because that's not that interesting. You know, that's just basically saying, hey, here's a hint to what we're going to show you later, but we're not actually going to talk about it until we show you the thing later. Well, then why even hint towards it? You know, like, if you're not even going to talk about it, you're not going to discuss it, it's just you're going to show it to us and then you're going to give us the answer at the end. Why even make it a thing? There are just so many strange writing decisions in this season that I think muddied the narrative, muddied the overall feel and cohesion of the season, that really brings us down for me. It's not anywhere near like Boba Fett territory. I would say it's pretty close to Obi-Wan territory though. Like, there were some exciting moments here and there, but there's a lot of nonsensical stuff. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't, when you think about the writing behind it, when you think about how the narrative flowed, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't really make sense about what they did. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what happened here with season 3. I mean, this show was really good the first 2 seasons. It was easily my favorite live action Star Wars show. And now I don't even, again, I don't rate this that highly above Obi-Wan, which I also felt was lackluster. So it's frustrating that this happened, but overall, looking at the season and looking at the best parts and the worst parts, best parts had to be the stuff with Moff Gideon and what they were doing on Mandalore. Obviously, the Pershing episode where he was being tricked and stuff, it makes sense why they showed us that. I still feel like that episode was pointless in the end because it was a really long, drawn-out story where we knew what was going to happen as the audience, because it was very clear what was going to happen, even though they kept trying to make it seem like, no, she's not going to betray him. She's not going to betray him. I mean, it was obvious. Obviously, the Lizzo episode was by far the worst because it really just tied into nothing. It was a total side quest that played into absolutely nothing the rest of the season. It was basically, hey, we don't want you to just come here and then talk to the Mandalorians that are here, so help us with our problem first. And the problem didn't connect to anything at all. And again, Lizzo was in it, and she's annoying. So as far as what I'm thinking for season 4, because I do know there's a season 4, I saw that there are plans for season 4. I really hope that they find their footing again. First of all, I would make it more about Din. I would leave behind Bo-Katan, the Mandalorians. I don't mind the fact that season 3 was about Mandalorians getting back to Mandalore and having their home back. I don't mind that that's a story. You could say that was the main focus of season 3, and that would be perfectly fine. Season 4, it needs to get back to the Mandalorian. Like when you first told the story, it was about the one that's out there on his own. He is part of Mandalore. He is one of them. He is following the way. But in the end, he is the Mandalorian. He is the one that we came here to watch. You know, we didn't come to watch all these other guys. Yes, they can help out. Yes, he can be a part of them. But that's not why we are here. So they really need to focus back on him. I'm assuming, since we saw a lot of the remnants of the Empire with Moff Gideon at the beginning of last episode, I'm assuming they might get a bit more focused in the next season. Maybe we'll see even more how the First Order started to come to power, you know, with Hux and I don't remember the name of the other guy. I think it started with a P, like Palian or something like that. Maybe we see more of them and what they're doing behind the scenes. Obviously, they were already talking about using the cloning stuff for themselves, or at least I think that's what they were doing. I don't know. I've already forgotten the scene and how exactly it played out. But we just saw them and we saw that they were planning stuff. Obviously, there's still a lot of remnants of the Empire left. So maybe that's more the focus, is how Din is trying to take down the remnants of the Empire that are out there, but also how those remnants are starting to grow in strength and starting to connect a bit more. I mean, I don't mind seeing even how the New Republic kind of allowed for the First Order to be built based on their negligence and ignorance. So I don't mind those stories. I just feel like you need to have those stories built around your main character. You can have the side characters that are helping him out. You had that in the first season and the second season, but don't make the side characters more important than your main character, because that's where I feel like you muddied the waters this season by making Bo-Katan the focal point for a lot of stories, when honestly I think Din Djarin could have easily been that same focal point. But with that being said, that's all that I've got. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on these final 2 episodes, as well as the season as a whole? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe, future Mandalorian reviews. And until next time, I hope you guys have a great day. I'll talk to you all later. Peace out.